it was so satisfying to take, dull and dingy or damaged or out of date, and modernize it and repair it and take a look at the people's faces when they see the final product and they're like, oh my God. And that is so satisfying to see that.
Be Nice Individuals Podcast.
Hey folks, this is Thaddeus on the Be Nice Individuals Podcast that is hosted here at the Flagler Voice Podcast Studio. I have in studio Alan Lowe, who is the owner and operator of Alan Lowe LLC. We're going to talk about what he does, specifically about his refinishing. Alan Lowe, it's great to have you in studio today.
Hey Thaddeus, it's great to be in the studio and actually be sitting on this side of the microphone.
Yeah,
I'm not used to it.
Yeah, it is great to have you. One of the things that I have gotten more familiar with just in our interaction is the refinishing work that you do.
Yeah.
Really cool. And, one of the things that is going to come up in our conversation is the ability to kind of not recycle per se, but keep something a little bit longer than maybe the life expectancy if like the paint's running out or whatever. So, but anyway, tell the audience about what refinishing is.
Okay, well, first, let me just say that we refinish kitchen cabinets, countertops, bathtubs, and showers, and also bathroom vanities and so forth. So what happens is a lot of the times you'll have these kitchen cabinet doors or bathroom vanity doors, and they start to peel. And then, you start to scotch tape them back together and super glue them back together, and it doesn't work. So what we do is we come in and we take that finish off, and then we use a 2-part epoxy, an aerospace primer and 2-part epoxy, and we resurface the kitchen cabinet doors or your vanity doors or whatever to whatever color you like with this epoxy that is just, this is tough stuff. It was used on the space shuttle system. So, NASA developed this stuff, and a company out in Orlando would provide it to NASA until the space shuttle program was gone, and then it was like, well, what do we do now?
Sell it to Alan.
I said, hey. No, they certified several of us to use it, and it sticks to everything. So we can redo wooden doors, we can redo Formica style doors, or fiberglass bathtubs, or porcelain bathtubs, or over tile, over glass, over stainless steel. So what we can do is when your cabinets or your countertop or your bathtub or your shower is starting to look old and dingy, or maybe, as styles change, the colors change and stuff, and it's just something that doesn't appeal to you anymore, but you feel like you're stuck with it, we can come in and modernize it and change it to whatever it is you like, whatever color.
You heard me at aerospace, and then when you started telling the story, I'm like, yeah, if NASA's using this stuff, it's good.
Yes. Well, they don't anymore because they canceled the space shuttle program. But yes, this is what they were using it for. So it's really tough stuff. And it's an epoxy. It has a bad smell until it sets, which is about 10 hours. So we have these additives that we add it to it. We can make it smell like cinnamon.
Oh, that's nice.
Or vanilla, or what's the other? Lemon. So
yeah,
if you're a fan of lemon, vanilla, or cinnamon, we can make your house smell really good for about 10 hours, and then it, goes away.
Yeah, well, somebody's like having a party.
Yeah.
Have Alan come over, epoxy a couple of things with.
Yeah, it's a free thing.
Yeah, I actually got to smell the lemon. It's a pretty nice flavor. It's a pretty nice smell. I mean, I didn't drink it, so yeah, you don't want to do that.
No, I wouldn't do that.
It's very potent, you would say. You only use a little bit.
You use a couple of drops, and for fun, the reason you smelled it was here at the podcast studio. I said, I wonder if we could freshen it up a little bit, and I put 1 drop on the air conditioner.
Oh, that was all.
Yeah, and it's been going well over a month now. That you open the door and you still get a little lemony fresh smell. Next time we'll have vanilla and then cinnamon.
Oh, fall is coming up, so we
cinnamon,
might do. Yeah. Cinnamon makes more sense. I think we're gonna need to expand the smells.
I'll tell them, but they may not know that.
Yeah, we're gonna need to expand the smells. So one of the cool things, so we talked about the refinishing, how you're cleaning the surface and you're taking a color or in that epoxy, and you're changing the look of whatever you're refinishing, the doors, the tubs, whatever.
Right.
Now, one of the things we talked about before is how this saves a lot of money.
Oh, it's incredible. Let me give you, for instance, I think if you pull up a picture of a bathtub that used to be gray, and then we resurfaced it black. I'll put it on the screen here for the people. So when you're looking at this picture, you see this gray bathtub. Now, it's in a gray tiled alcove. This bathtub is basically brand new. And if you look at this bathtub closely, you'll see it has no fixtures in it or anything. The water valves and everything are on that black post that's next to it. So this is just a bathtub shell, and they paid $7,000 for that bathtub. And then they didn't like the color. So they contacted me, and they said, hey, we'd like the bathtub to be black. And I said, I make it whatever color you want it. And I noticed that there's not in this picture here, but I noticed that the bathroom sink was black but had a slight gold tint in it. So I matched the color to the sink. And then just before we sprayed this bathtub, and by the way, the epoxy is put on with spray. It's not rolled on or painted on, it's sprayed on. Just before we sprayed this, I said to the lady, look, I know you told me you wanted just black, but I matched the color to your sink. And she said, well, that's exactly what I wanted. Like, oh, well, you didn't say that. But anyway, if you look at the picture here, the after picture with it black, it really stands out, and it's far more beautiful in that gray colored alcove that they built for it, but saved them. Well, the cost of doing that tub was about $600. So we saved them essentially $6,400 on changing out the bathtub.
Oh, wow. And with this, I'm saying, like, it gives that space a little bit of a pop, because there's a lot of gray right there in that corner. And I'm not an interior designer, but just looking at it from an uneducated point of view or eye, like, it gives a little color pop.
It does. Yeah. It changes it completely, actually. If the tub is to be the focal point in this alcove, it certainly makes it pop and stand out.
Yeah. I like that. And also, one of the things with, you said it's not rolled on, spray on, that's going to give a more even finish versus you seeing like the roll lines.
Yeah, no
like
roller texture. I mean, when you paint a wall, you see that it doesn't come out perfectly flat when you put it on with a roller. It's got a texture to it, and we don't want texture on a lot of the. Actually, none of it wants texture. It wants to be smooth. So, if you use a brush, you get brush strokes, in this stuff and everything. So we spray it so that you have an even, flat finish. And we can. Speaking of flat by flat, I meant without texture, but we also can get it in matte, the sheen. It can be matte, flat, matte. We can have satin, gloss, or high gloss. I don't usually like to do high gloss because although our material comes out looking beautiful, if there's any defect in your doors or your cabinets or your tubs or your showers or whatever, any defect, the higher you go in the sheen, the more likely it is to stand out like a sore thumb.
Oh, no.
So usually we do satin. Sometimes we'll go up to gloss, but I personally, in my opinion, when people ask, I wouldn't go above gloss because there's always some type of defect from the manufacturer, and it's just going to be the thing that catches your eye. You're not going to want it. Yeah,
you're not going to want that at all. One of the things I noticed as well is when we're talking about this tub, it looks like it came from the factory like that because of how the surface looks. You're not seeing those brush strokes like I was saying. There's no roller marks. If the homeowner didn't tell somebody, they would think, oh, you bought a black tub, cool.
Yeah,
where can I get one of those?
Exactly. Well, that's the beauty of it, because when we are finished with a job, the people usually can't believe what they're seeing in front of them, and word of mouth basically is how we operate. I do some Facebook posts too, but it's usually word of mouth, and it's usually we are just jam-packed with work. So it's the quality of the product, and it's also the love of the job, because I will do each job as though it's in my own home, and that I have to look at what I've done every day. That's what I have in my mind, knowing that a customer has to look at it every day. So we make sure that it's exactly the way a person wants it, and then when they're happy, they tell other people. Now, and it goes that way.
Now, did you want to say anything else about the specific tub?
No, I think it's really cool though. If you look closely at the outside of the tub, it's got these little. It's supposed to look like it's carved out of a granite rock, I think was the original idea. But the inside's smooth, and so that kind of lost the effect. But when we sprayed it with the black, it just really brought it out. I think it was the right color or the right design that the lady chose, and it just made things look really good.
Yeah.
And saved the guy, basically $7,000.
Yeah. I mean, that's always a selling point.
Yeah, well, when you think of it, like we have another picture that shows some burn marks on a countertop.
Okay.
And this was a rental property, and unfortunately, the majority of people that rent just think, well, it's not mine, so I don't care, even though they're living in it.
Yeah,
and that's the home that they're living in. They don't treat it the way they should. Not everybody, but some people. So in this particular one, they were setting hot pans on the countertop. It was a Formica countertop next to the stove, and burnt the countertop. I have other pictures where they used another area as a cutting board, and it was just a disaster.
So they really didn't care.
They didn't care at all. No, they didn't care at all. But the property manager called us in after these tenants moved out because they were thinking, well, we're going to have to tear out these countertops and put in new countertops because they're all destroyed, or they weren't destroyed. They were damaged and looked really bad. And they asked if there was anything we could do. Well, sure. So we came in, we sanded down and worked with the burn areas to make sure everything was leveled back out again. And we don't have a picture of it here, but the area they used as a chopping block, we smoothed all that out. And then we sprayed it with the 2-part epoxy. And you can see on the second picture there, the bottom picture is where the burns are. Yeah. And the upper picture is the after. So you see no burns anymore. So, changing out a typical countertop is going to cost you, well, at least in the size of the countertop that was in this job, was going to cost right around $2,500. And this job, I believe, between the cutting board area and this area I think it was $600.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, it averages, everything kind of averages $600 by the time we're done, but you save thousands and thousands and you didn't have to tear anything out.
Yeah.
There was no construction going on and stuff like that.
Yeah. One of the pictures that we don't have, but maybe we'll be able to find and throw up on the screen, is the one where you had that door or whatever that was chewed up real good.
Oh, the corner of the door.
Yeah. I actually saw it in here before. I think you got started, and I'm like, that looks. But you said you could fix it. I'm like, how? Besides throwing it in the trash. But you did.
Well, we'll pull up that picture and put it on because I do have it.
Yeah.
So what had happened is over time, I don't know if it was a cat or a dog or some kind of pet, decided that the corner of the doors were really tasty and chewed the corners off the doors.
Yeah.
So then, these people wanted to redo their kitchen, but the corners of the doors were all, chewed up.
Yeah.
And so they were ready to go out and buy new doors. Now, the problem with that is, well, one, it's almost impossible to match doors if your kitchen's old, they don't make that style anymore. But also the cost of a new door, if it's not just some standard old door, if the cost of a nice new door varies between, say, $60 and $70 a door, upwards to a few $100s a door.
Yeah.
And these doors were chewed up. You saw one.
Yeah.
And but what we did was we actually sanded the doors down to get the old paint and everything off because somebody at some stage had painted it themselves, and don't do that. It won't last.
Okay, yeah.
But they had painted it themselves, and for us to epoxy it, because the epoxy has xylene in it, it acts a little bit like a paint remover. Okay. So if you have paint on it, it will bubble the old paint. So we have to take the old paint off, which makes your cost go up.
Yeah.
But then, most body mechanics or body, for cars and stuff, body people will tell you that Bondo is the way to go to hide dents and holes and things in automobiles. Well, Bondo works great on wood too.
Interesting.
So we used Bondo, and I made a little mold, and we rebuilt the corner of the doors, and then I used a little sander and put the filigree in it to match what the door used to be, and then we sprayed them, and you couldn't tell that the corners had been a yummy treat for their pet.
The reason I bring that up, though, is we were talking about the countertops there in that kitchen, and you had to kind of sand down those surfaces. So people out there, when they're thinking about refinishing, it's not just, oh, come in and just spray.
No,
okay, good.
no.
You got still those raised surfaces, but they're sprayed. No, so he actually is fixing those issues with that that door. You actually created a new corner, and you can't tell. You can't tell, but you really created a whole new corner, and it was like as if it never happened.
Right. And the thing is, it's preparation. In any job that you do, preparation is key. If you just come in and spray over, lumpy bumpy, that's what you end up with. But, and then we tape everything off, and we make sure that there's no overspray that goes on to anything. So let's say we're going to go in and spray an entire kitchen. We take the doors to our warehouse and spray them. But the kitchen cabinet boxes stay in place, so we don't remove anything like that. But to tape off and make sure that there's no overspray on a standard kitchen takes us about 6 to 7 hours to tape everything off and 20 minutes to spray it.
That's crazy.
And then 10 minutes later, we rip all the plastic and everything off. So it's like, we worked 7 hours to put it there and 10 minutes to tear it down. But that way because this stuff, if it gets on other things, it's not coming off.
Yeah.
Once it sets, it's there. Paint stripper won't remove it. Epoxy thinners and epoxy removers nothing removes this stuff. So we have to make sure it doesn't get on anything it's not supposed to.
Well, I mean, because NASA was using it. You expect it to be, you expect it to be
tough
durable.
It goes out of space and comes back again. So, looking just as nice as it did.
Let's pull up that other picture. So we talked about the countertops. Let's talk about this this kitchen. And this is the before picture is on the bottom in this case.
The wood-looking brown sort of doors. And the kitchen looks fine. There's nothing wrong looking at this kitchen, but it doesn't look modern anymore. The kitchen looks aged.
Yeah, sure.
And so they picked the color. You could go to any of the big box stores or the paint shops around, and if you can get me the color and the number of the color, I can match it.
Oh, interesting. So you can take just a regular paint color and make it an epoxy color.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
And we can match the color. So, and it's really cool because if you've got you just did a new tile floor or something in your kitchen, and now your cabinets and everything are like clashing, and you got to go in there with sunglasses so you don't see it. You can pick a color variant out of your tile or out of your countertops or whatever. And then we can redo your kitchen to bring out whatever color it was in your cabinets or in your flooring, rather, your tile or your countertop, to bring everything back together again. So in this picture, the people actually wanted, a brighter kitchen. It was very, there's nothing wrong with the bottom, the brown colored kitchen. There's nothing wrong with it at all. But it just was darkening the room. It has black countertops. And
I could see that.
Yeah, so it kind of darkened the room. They wanted it a little brighter. So they picked a color, a little bit of an off-white color, and we came in and sprayed the whole thing, and that's the top picture. And if it wasn't for the appliances being the exact same appliances, when you look at this, you don't think it's the same kitchen.
Yeah, I would agree with that. One of the things I'm looking at, or one of the things I'm noticing when I'm looking at this picture, though, too, is like the appliances are modern, but the cabinets themselves is like, it's a clash of the appliances.
Yeah.
You can kind of see that. And just, like this spraying it, how much more life and brightness is brought to that room.
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
It just changed the look of everything. And, they had this dark black granite countertop, which matches the some of the colors in the double oven and in the microwave they have there. But when it was a brown kitchen, you didn't even see the countertops, and the appliances kind of just faded into the brown. But when the cabinets became white, the countertop, which is a focal point, just pops out, and the appliances, the black in the appliances, that pops out. So the kitchen all of a sudden becomes alive, if you ask me.
Yeah, 100% agree. It's almost like it's a new kitchen.
Yeah. And didn't change anything. Now, if you were to pull those cabinets out on that kitchen, first of all, if you have a granite countertop, you can almost guarantee the granite countertop is going to break if you try to take it out to replace the cabinets. It's almost guaranteed. Getting one out, especially when you have the cutout for your sink and stuff, and the granite's really thin around the edges of the sink,
Sure.
you almost guaranteed that it's not going to make it. So to change it out, you'd have to get a new granite countertop, and then you'd have to get your new cabinet. So the average, you're looking somewhere between $15,000 and say $18,000
Oh, wow.
to replace the cabinets to get them white.
Yeah.
That kitchen there, if memory serves me correctly, that kitchen was about $1,800,
Wow.
and nothing had to come out.
Yeah. And how long did that take you guys?
One day.
That took one day.
And we
Yeah.
bring the doors to the warehouse. So if you add door time and everything, it's probably a week. But actually being in the people's houses and spraying the cabinet boxes, one day.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Because there's that idea that people have, or that struggle they might have when it comes to getting something done. You know, is this going to, cause them to not be in a home that they can still do the normal things? In cabinets, it's going to take significantly longer to install new cabinets than, spraying the ones that are already there. So,
Yeah. And so the construction hassle of taking them out and putting them back in, and the dust and the dirt and the disruption of lifestyle, which is where I think you're heading with it.
Yeah.
You have to live for about a week with the doors off your cabinets. You don't have to take the stuff out of the cabinets, but you have to live without doors. But when we come in and do the spraying of the cabinets themselves, we upset your day for a day.
Yeah.
And then we put the next day we come back after the epoxy is hardened on the cabinet boxes and put all the doors on. Takes a couple hours and you're done. Yeah,
you can live without doors for a little while. You might not even want the doors back. I don't know.
Well, there's some people that have no door. They have the glass doors too, so that's no door.
Yeah. But it's cool. What got you into this first? Not first, but let's back up to that. Like, we kind of went immediately into the epoxy, but what was the first thing that kind of got you into this?
Well, it's kind of interesting because I was doing some work for an apartment complex, just little handyman stuff around the complex, and there was a bathtub that had a rust hole in it, and we can fix rust holes and things like that.
Wow.
But I didn't know about that at the time. So this tub had a rust hole in it, and we were looking at replacing the tub, and it was upwards of $4,000 to pull out the tub, because then the tile has to come off because there's a lip on the tub that's behind it, and it's just a massive undertaking.
Yeah.
So then I looked at, putting these fiberglass inserts that they have, and you just set them in the tub so nothing has to come out, and that's about the same price. And like, well, there's got to be another way. And I contacted another company, and they said, well, why don't we just epoxy it? I'm like, I've never heard of that, but let's do that. So he comes out and he does the job, and it comes out beautiful. So then we have another tub that needs it. We say, hey, let's do this one too. So he comes out and he does it. And in the middle of it, a friend of mine that owns another motel locally says, hey, I've got a 14 room and I need to have the tubs redone. So, this guy gets the business and does the tubs. And then after that, he said to me, hey, why don't you give me your business card and I'll pass out your name, you pass out my name, and that'd be really cool. I said, all right. And I hand him some cards, and he says, oh, and by the way, I get 10% for anything I refer. I said, well, that's cool. I get 10% for the 14 bathtubs I just got you. He said, no, we hadn't made the deal yet. I said, oh, okay. It's like that. Well, he had made the mistake of telling me where he got certified to use this stuff. So, so he didn't get those 14 bathtubs, and I got certified to do it. And that's how I started. And once I got into it, it was so satisfying to take, dull and dingy or damaged or out of date, and modernize it and repair it, and take a look at the people's faces when they see the final product, and they're like, oh my God. And that is so satisfying to see that I sort of transitioned almost immediately into just doing that. And that was probably when I really started doing it heavily, probably 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, you have some really cool before and after pictures that really stand out. So when you have this stuff on social media, it's very obvious. It's not necessarily the same as like you're painting white to just a different shade of white. It's epoxy, which you would say maybe generally people want a completely different look with color and stuff. So you're going to have more of that pop. Okay, this was the before, this is definitely the after. Would you say that?
Yeah, and what happens a lot of the times is you'll have, especially in an older house, you have sort of the off-white tan or in the really old house, the red or the green bathtubs and stuff. But then you have this brand new toilet that's a nice shiny, white. Typically it's a, Kohler brand. And so you have a Kohler white toilet and an off-white cream or red or green or whatever bathtub. And it's like, or the tile around the bathtub, the surround is like, it's just not working for me. So we can come in and match the tub to the color of the bathtub, to the color of the toilet, so that and we can even do the countertop so that everything blends together again. But then on the tile around the surround or the countertop as well, if you want like just this completely different look, we can not only make it whatever color you want, but we can make it look like granite. In fact, the table that we use here in the podcast studio is a piece of plywood that I epoxied to look like granite.
Yeah.
So if you come in and do a podcast in the podcast studio, you can see.
Yeah, that's a plug, guys. Make sure you come here to check out our not granite, but looking like granite countertop. So Alan actually fashioned this whole thing. It's actually a really good desk for actually exactly what we need. So it's perfect to have this durable finish on it too. And like you said, it does definitely look like granite.
Now, I have to say, thank you, radio station. I stole your idea for the desk and built our desk to match what the radio station had, because it was really efficient for that use, and that's what we have. But I didn't want it to look like just an old wooden desk.
Yeah.
So we made it look like granite.
Well, of course.
Yeah, this is high end here. We don't mess around.
Yeah, but this is something that you do as part of your business. So why not bring it here so everybody sees it when they come in and like, ooh, maybe I want to have that type of style in my home. So
yeah. And it is durable too. It's tough stuff, even on a piece of plywood.
Yeah, absolutely. So anything else you wanted to talk about before we kind of zoom out in this episode?
Well, first off, to get in contact with me, you can email me at job1repairs, that's JOBONE repairs, REPAIRS, plural, at gmail.com. So job1repairs@gmail.com, or you can call me 386-864-2295, and we do free estimates.
That's awesome. So guys, if you have that countertop or that floor or wall, anything like that needs to be refinished, maybe you're tired of the look of it, maybe it got damaged, you have a cat or a dog that likes to chew a little bit, Alan can come out and actually fix those issues, that damage, but he also can change the color, bring new life to that space. We showed a couple photos of how you can have like this complete transition, especially when that photo we were looking at in the kitchen. That kitchen was at least like 30, it looked like it was 30 years old, right? But just changing the color of it, it brought it to life and actually caught it up to the appliances that were in that picture. The appliances were new, and now the kitchen looks new as well. So a fantastic offering. But you got to remember too, instead of replacing, and this is your tagline, right? Don't replace, resurface or something like that. Why
replace when you can resurface and save thousands?
Yeah, you're going to save a lot of money. But also, you got to think about the fact that you don't have that downtime per se. Like when you're having somebody come in and change out cabinets and stuff, that downtime is significantly longer than having a resurface job done by Alan. So think about that. Think about the cost. Think about, recycling, keeping something a little bit longer. And it's great for the environment, and it's great for your pocketbook. So anyway, this has been Thaddeus Smith and Alan Lowe at the Flagler Voice Podcast Studio. Now remember, guys, this is a space for people to come in, just like Alan, shout out your business, shout out your ideas, political candidate. You can reach out to your constituents here. We actually have a call-in feature here as well, where if you want to do a live show, we can make that happen. People can call in. You can answer questions on the air. It'd be fantastic. Again, this is Thaddeus Smith in the Flagler Voice Podcast. We'll see you next time.